Hello everyone, my name is Vernisa.
Hey y'all, this is Jen.
This is our podcast, Speak Up. What's up, Jen?
Hey girl.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Glad that we're in episode 67.
Yo, yeah, I'm happy to be back. It feels like we haven't done this in a minute.
Yes, we got some more content for y'all. For those of you that don't know, me and Jen are best friends. We created this podcast to use our voices to motivate people to overcome life challenges through self-love and respect.
That's right. If you don't know by now, self-love and respect are two core values we hold near and dear to our hearts.
Yes, most definitely. Before we get started, we have a few announcements.
So we just wanted to remind y'all to check us out live and unfiltered every Thursday, now at a new time at 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, only on the Good News Radio. You can download the app, either going through the link on our Instagram or their Instagram. But if you go on there, you can tap into other great shows that are also on there. And you can also chat with us live, either calling in or by actually typing. Or if you just feel like listening to the show, that always helps as well. So make sure you tune in, again, live and unfiltered, Thursdays, 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, only on the Good News Radio.
Yes, and be on the lookout for our next live audience show, maybe coming very soon. Also, a quick shout out to our sponsors out there. Shout out to My Bar, located in Inglewood, California. Go get your nails done, your brows done, your lashes. She have you in there feeling right. Ask for My and tell them that Speak Up sent you. The Instagram is at myy.barr.
That's right. And shout out to our other sponsor, House of Mara by Time Mara. Ladies, if you are looking to get your curves looking right in these bodysuits and these shirts and just these clothing in general, then House of Mara is the place to go. Go check her out. Her Instagram is at House of Mara. That's HOUSEOFMERA. Try saying that 5 times in a row.
Yes, for real. So yeah, our title for tonight is You Carry It Well.
What we carrying, girl?
We carrying strength.
That's right. All right, y'all. So we've actually been waiting to talk about this for a minute because it's actually kind of hard to talk about it in the sense of when you hear the term strength or strong, right? We all have our own definitions of it. We all think we know what it means and everything. But here we are to redefine that term because we know that everybody comes from a different background, you know, different traumas, whatever, all kinds of things. So we wanted to redefine what it actually means to be strong in the first place.
Yes, most definitely. And also, too, you know, there's this notion that being strong, like, you have to always, you know, so you carry it well. Like, it has to always be showing all the time. And, like, honestly, to be honest, if you just because you're strong doesn't mean you don't have breakdowns.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what we wanted to redefine it to, that we think strength means you're emotionless, right? Or, like, you could take all these punches and things like that. And, yeah, to a certain extent, maybe you have to in life to survive and different things. But what we wanted to talk about is what happens when nobody's around. Or maybe only certain people know about you. What does strength really mean to you individually as a person?
Oh, I like that. I think, too, strength, it can be, you know, when we talk about strength, it can become kind of like a toxic term in the aspect of, like, comparing it almost to perfect.
Right.
And nothing's ever wrong. Like you said, you're emotionless, you know. You're never having those downfall moments. Honestly, I feel like strength is built during those downfalls, during those down moments. And you have to have those to be strong. Let's be real, the strongest warriors are the people that have been through the most stuff but pick their stuff back up. I feel like that's what gives them the term strong. Not like, oh, I'm just, anything happens, I'm good, da-da-da. No, it's some punches being done, there's some breakdowns in the meantime, but it's really about how you rebuild yourself.
That's true. And I think for me, that definition of strong, right, it comes from my childhood. Like, I really grew up thinking that strong meant you don't cry ever. At least in my household, it was like almost looked down upon if you did show that little bit of tears or anything like that. You know, you were told, like, go to your room or, like, don't cry over a boy or whatever and things like that. And the thing is, yeah, I'm not saying go ahead and cry on the street every 20 minutes or anything, but take your moment to cry, but you shouldn't be ashamed of it. And I think I grew up with that mentality of being ashamed if I did cry, if I did let out any tear. Even to myself, I would feel so bad and so weak if I did show any type of emotions, especially crying. So that's something that I had to rewire as I got older, because I realized just because I cried doesn't mean I'm not strong. I think on the contrary, it takes a lot of strength for you to show that something hurt you, that something bothered you or angered you in the first place.
Yeah, it becomes like a defense mechanism. And I think, like, in the day, you don't know how to cope when things happen. It's like, I feel like it hinders the relationships that we have with ourselves, because we end up punishing ourselves if we show that. Like, we cry or we have that breakdown moment. It's like you start beating yourself up internally for showing it, you know. And I think for me, the whole term of strength was, oh, she can handle that. She can handle that. It was like, no, well, she's strong. She's going to be fine. It's like no one thinks about the strong person, you know, what they've been through and stuff. It's like, oh, okay, they're going to always get through it. But no, you know what I mean? But there's no type of, what's what I'm trying to say, like empathy towards it.
Yeah. And that's actually one of the consequences too of thinking you always had to be strong. Like we were saying, right, at a younger age, I was thinking of strength as a certain way. So some of that really stemmed into my adulthood, in where I realized the way I even treated certain people in relationships, and not just romantic, but like even in my friendships, right? You know, I realized I had to change my view of people as well, in redefining my term strength, because I realized some of the strongest people I know are actually the ones who can admit their feelings, who can admit, you know what, I need a moment here, like, you know, today's not my best day or something like that. And that actually takes a lot of guts. So in doing that, I realized also there's more realness in people than I was willing to see at first. But if I hadn't taken the time to do that, then yeah, my whole life I would have just gone, you know, thinking I'm a hard ass and thinking everybody else had to be that way.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, there is strength and courage in being able to admit that. That takes a lot of bravery to do it in the first place. And then should we get deeper with men? You know, with men, they're taught you're strong, don't cry, don't show nothing and stuff. So they have to walk around thinking they're all tough and this armor and stuff. And deep down, it's like, where do they have that outlet? You know, and I want to say too, when you are raised that you have to be strong all the time, you begin to raise other people like that. Or like you said, treat your friends like that. Like when they're breaking down and you was like, oh, put it together. Don't get me wrong, something wrong with tough love. Of like, if someone's dwelling too much off of something, like where it's like, okay, you know this is affecting, that's different. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about in general, like if someone's opening up, it's like, yeah, we do bash them for that, because let's be real, that's how we were seen growing up. It's like, oh, don't do that, but then does that mean that it's right? That's
true. Yeah, that's deep actually. It also, just because you're strong doesn't mean you haven't felt like giving up. And this is actually really personal for me to talk about too, because I've had my moments where I'm like, damn, well, what am I doing, you know, and why am I here, and like just questioning everything. It's like a why, and it just turns into this whole negative cycle. But I feel like it's helped me a lot too, because it's made me realize like life is kicking my ass, you know, and that's okay. Like no one ever promised us life was going to be easy, much less fair. So in realizing that too, I'm like, you know what, it's okay for me to feel like giving up at certain points, and then getting back up on a different day. But it's okay for me to have my bad days, my bad moments, and then just recognize that I'm human, that I am a creature filled with emotions, and I am going to have my struggles, and I am going to have my moments where it's just like, I don't want to talk to anybody, you know, different things like that. But growing up with that mentality of like, no, you have to thug it out and different things like that, it really, don't get me wrong, it helped my drive in a lot of things, but it also never gave me leeway to just be okay with not being okay.
Oh, that's deep. And I'm really big on, you know, take that pause, you know, as long as you don't quit. And it's like, I think the breakdown or the questioning is that pause, you know, because it's going to have, it's like, oh shoot, what did I just walk into? You know, okay, I got to keep pushing, but you got to have that regroup, you know, to get yourself together. I saw a post and it said, strong people, you know, strong people, they go through things too. They just know how to regroup and then go back on their journey. And I think that's very important, because I feel like that, you know, that's what defines it. You know, life isn't perfect. Stuff's going to be thrown at you all the time, but it's like, how do you regroup yourself and push forward?
No, that's true. And honestly, strong people are put on this, I want to say like impossible pedestal too, you know, where it's like they're looked at as unbreakable, as this person that can never be reached, you know, when in reality that's so detrimental to the person, because it dehumanizes them. It's telling them that they're not allowed to do that they're not allowed to ever fall off that pedestal, you know, because people are going to view them a certain way. And like, you know, I've seen this happen too, where someone who is considered to be strong and they actually show like a moment of vulnerability or anything like that, people start viewing them a certain way, and it's like, oh, well, I thought you were this, I thought you were that. But it's like, dang, you know, are they not allowed to have their moments too? So we need to be very careful also on what kind of pedestals we put people on in general, but strong people too, because then it's like telling them that, yeah, they can't ever be any other way.
No, that's true. And then also you end up, you know, if you're the person being labeled as strong and on that pedestal, you end up putting extra pressure on yourself, like, oh, because you don't want no one to see you weak, you know, see you have those moments or things like that. So then you end up being tougher on yourself, but then that ends up wearing out after a while, you know. And we got the stigma that strong people don't need help.
Right.
We are all human. We all can learn from people. We all need help sometimes in life. Whatever, independent or not, you need some type of help in life, strength, whatever. And I think we need to knock that too, because like I even been told that, oh, you got it, and it's like, no,
like, why do you assume
why
that?
do you assume it? Because we carry ourselves, you carry yourself a certain way, you have the certain thing that you're known for being strong. It doesn't mean that I don't have those moments, especially too, being a black woman, there's that saying, oh, black women are so strong, this and that, like, and then I saw a post, it was like, why can't we ever feel vulnerable? Like, can we show it and feel safe doing that without being like, oh, well, she's supposed to be this, she's supposed to be that, or like having all these hula hoops thrown at us, you know what I mean, just to see if we could get through it and get past it, and like, that's another thing. It's like, and then we're all human, we all have our moments, we all feel things. And sometimes we question the path you even on anyway, But I think it's very, I'll say the word toxic. It's very toxic to just assume someone's completely. Yeah, don't get me wrong. The bounce back is gonna happen. Let's be real. I'm not saying I ever feel like I'm gonna quit or anything like that. But it doesn't mean the road isn't gonna be rocky. And I think that's where that strength is made during those rocky roads, and that's what makes a story more beautiful.
That's what I was gonna say too. Yeah. How do you really know what amount of strength you carry unless you're tested like that, right? If you're never tested, then you never find out what you're made of. And just because I'm strong and I can take things and whatever doesn't mean I should. It doesn't mean we have to become people's punching bags or like people have to treat us a certain way or anything like that, thinking that, oh, it's okay, she gonna handle it, blah blah. Like, no, it doesn't have to be that way. So I'm actually really glad that you brought that up. And also too, like, when you are a strong person, you're going to come across people who envy that strength. Because we were talking about this earlier, like, whatever you've been through, they probably wouldn't have been able to handle the same thing, or they would have handled it a different way or whichever. And I'm not saying there's a right or wrong way to show your strength. Like, of course not. Everybody has different, we're wired differently, different lives, all kinds of things. But just be mindful of the people who are purposely trying to knock you down. Like we were saying, right? When people are trying to make you their punching bags, like those are the people to really be looking out for and be like, does this person really have my back? Do they really have my best interest in mind?
Yeah, and then you got those secret haters who are your friends, right? People in your circle. And then like, you could vent to them about something that happened to you. And then they be waiting for you to crack, and then you don't, and then that throw them off, and it's like, oh, why didn't she, fall because of this, or this was thrown at them, and then they start envying you even more for that. I've seen it, I've been through it, and honestly, don't give them that piece of joy for that.
Yes, I agree. Yes, and if you do have a weak moment, don't beat yourself up for it. I know that's easier said than done. I know both of us are learning how to do this. But it's very necessary, because if you don't forgive yourself, if you don't have grace with yourself, how is anybody else going to do that for you? I like that. And nobody else is living in your head. Nobody else is going through what you're going through. So if you need to take a moment to cry, punch a punching bag, an actual one, a pillow, break some dishes, whatever you got to do that's healthy for you to cope. Exactly. Out of my place. But whatever you have to do to help you cope, then that's healthy. Then of course go for it, right? But don't be you're beating yourself up because you had that moment to begin with.
That's so true. I feel like those tougher, weak moments, those are the moments where your strength is being rebuilt. You're being challenged. And think of it this way. You ever was on like a really bad diet, eating so bad, and finally your body had enough, and you just start throwing up. Your body's detoxing, going through it. Your body's rebuilding itself, and then you start giving it the nutrients that it needs. And then you look up, you're strong. You're eating healthier. You're stronger than ever. It's the same with that too, with those strong moments. Sometimes like that little break moment comes, but then something for me. Get down and start praying, figuring, just really like, sometimes it be like that. Like God will slow you down so you can have that moment to pray and rebuild your faith, rebuild your strength. And then it's like you're stronger than ever. No one can rock your ship. That's really what it is in those moments. Like I learned to change my perspective of those moments when things get hard, things get weird. It's like, okay, what am I learning from this? And then it's like, it makes your story more powerful. Like, look at our podcast. Like, for example, this show was built off of pain, built off of me and Jen's experiences. And, as we learn, as we grow as women, we're able to speak more about it. But if we didn't go through anything that we went through, how would we even be able to speak about it? And that's why I think the strongest speakers are the people that have been through the most stuff. Like, that's who you learn from, right? Those people with those stories. Or these rappers, like, look at, I don't know, I'm trying to think of people, but, look at rappers and stuff. They have a story to tell because they went through certain things, and that's why their music speaks, So
exactly.
Same idea.
It's like the underdog tale, right? Where everybody roots for the underdog, where it's like the rags to riches or whatever. It's kind of the same thing, but in an emotional sense. Like, I would rather see somebody who I consider being strong, but knowing that they've had their weak moments, you know, their moments to cry, to break down. Like sometimes, this is gonna sound bad, but sometimes that's why I like when they show behind the scenes of like movies or music videos or something, because you see the artist either getting frustrated with themselves, you know, or like having that moment of crying, or it's like, you know what, I need to rest for a bit, like get my head together or anything like that. Because it shows that they're real also, you know. And I say these stars because a lot of us tend to look up to these people versus like quote unquote normal people in our lives, but it's the same exact concept. These are human beings. They're just put in the spotlight more often than we are, but those moments that they have are moments that we should be having too, right? We just don't get it, you know, filmed or anything like that or publicized like that. But I think it's important to know that everybody goes through this. I bet you even, you know, some of the most powerful political figures have had certain moments in the background that we don't know about where they quote unquote show their weakness. And this is something we need to remember as humanity in general, because I think sometimes we get so caught up in our own thing that when somebody else shows their flaws, we're so quick to point to them and like pay attention to them and, you know, forget that they're human too. But it's like, don't, you know, point a finger, especially when your own hands aren't clean, right? We've heard that quote before. So I just wanted to put that out there because sometimes you don't realize how strong you are until the obstacle is actually placed in front of you. And we were saying this earlier, like, how are you really going to know what you're made of unless you've gone through certain things? Like, being women of faith, you know, I've realized like when life throws curveballs at me or something like that, I'm like, you know what? God thinks I'm tough enough to handle this, apparently. So yeah, I'll have my moment. Maybe I'll question God for a little bit, like, why is this happening? But then I'll have to get back up because I know that God wouldn't give me something I can't handle.
Yeah, and they don't underestimate your strength. Like, I think that's the big thing, because think about it too. If you started saying you're weak, and, you know, and all this stuff, you're putting that out there, and then you're gonna start believing that you are. And I think when things happen, you're more skeptical to having a breakdown or things like that, versus like, you know, okay, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna take this day by day. I'm gonna get through it. Like, it's really sometimes that pep talk you gotta have with yourself when something happens, you know, unfortunately, you know. And let's talk about too the connection between strength and resilience. You know, they're very, you know, I have the word resilience tatted on me. They're very connected, you know, right? You know, we know what strength is, but I feel like resilience is that second step after that strength. Like, yes, you're strong, you took those beatings, but that resilience is that getting back up time to time. And I think you need both of those, because having just one isn't enough. Because I could be strong, take all these punches, whatever, but if I'm not continuing, okay, that's like it's like in vain.
Exactly.
You know, but that resilience is, okay, this happened, I took that, but I'm back up and I'm going farther.
It's like in boxing. Right? A boxer can take so many hits and, you know, go through different rounds, but the thing is they always get back up. I think part of training for boxing is building that resilience. So apply that to life in general, where it's like, yeah, you know, the storm is going to be coming, but what's going to come after that storm? You know, it may not always be the rainbow, or it may not always, the clouds may not necessarily clear away, but you have to know that there is something always after that storm. And, you know, and talking about like crying and different things like that, that shows resilience too, because by crying about something, you're showing that you really cared about it, or, you know, it really bothered you or whichever. But the crying is like the storm part. And then after that storm is when you've cleared yourself, you know, you're probably a little bit more level-headed and you're like, you know what, okay, I'm ready to handle this. Like, I had my moment, let me just get back up after this.
I love that. And also love yourself more even through those tough moments, because those tough moments bring out that dark side, that, you know, maybe your least favorite parts about yourself, but that's the part of you that needs the most love through those. It's easy to be happy and love ourselves when things are great, you know, everything's going well, but then when you need that love, you need that nurture, especially too when you're reaching out to people and no one's around, you still have to know you got you know. And I'm a big woman of faith. I know I got God too, but you know what I mean? You have to be able to nurture that through that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and of course, in all talking about this, and, you know, it's okay to show that you're weak or anything like that, or show weaker moments of yourselves. Know who to actually be vulnerable with. So we have a whole episode on this, right, on being vulnerable and different things like that. But this is key, especially when you are redefining strength, because in that whole rewiring, you have to have the right kind of people around you. Because, yeah, let's say you are allowing yourself to cry or to be angered by something, but you're around somebody who puts you on this impossible pedestal, then they're just going to keep knocking you down every time you've already been knocked down. So those are not the type of people you want to be around. So just making sure that you have a good circle of friends or family, whomever you trust, and that they're always going to have your back no matter what. Because as we change, our relationship should change too. So just, yeah, watch out who's around your circle, because you can have a lot of haters around you and you don't even know it.
Yeah, I'm gonna say they're not even gonna have empathy for what you're going through either. And I'm glad you brought up the knock you down, because you got people waiting. Oh, she's down, let me just stab it even more. Some people, believe it or not, kind of get off on that, knowing like whoever they were mad at, you know, who was always up here, is finally right here and they can reach them now. And it's like, oh, that stuff's weird, that's deep, but stay away from that, you know. And also too, you know, check on the strong people in your life. You know, I know we all have somebody that we look up to that we see as strong and this and that. Check on them too. You know, that's the thing, being labeled as strong, people don't check on you. They expect you to be the person always checking up on them, making sure they're good, but has anyone made sure you was good, you know? So, you know, check on those people. So just like you, if you label yourself as strong, you would want to be checked on as well.
Exactly. It takes a village to raise anybody, right? So making sure that you're checking in with those friends and letting them know, hey, it's okay for you to be vulnerable with me. It's okay if you have a weaker moment with me. Like, everybody is human. Everybody's going through something. We all need somebody. We are social creatures who need connections.
Like, sometimes you have to be strong for others. Like, it is what it is, and don't be afraid of that, because I mean, I'm gonna be real, like, just like I'm strong for others, there's gonna be a day where I need someone to be strong for me, and it's like, it's just going back and forth. You know, you bring that energy back to yourself, and everyone's cup is being filled, you know, full.
Exactly. I'm big on this too, especially when it comes to any type of relationship in our lives, romantic or not. That I know we always talk about, like, relationships have to be 50-50 or 100-100, whatever. Sometimes you're not feeling your full potential for the day. So sometimes your partner, your best friend, you know, your sibling has to help you carry some of that weight. So I think of it as sometimes someone has to be your 80 when you're only 20, right? You and I have talked about this, of saying we're sharing the ice pack. And I think this is really important, because again, it knocks down that pedestal of thinking, oh, well, look, she's having a bad day, but she's not reaching out to me, and blah, 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 and things like that. Think about what that person might be going through mentally and emotionally, and maybe they don't have the energy to reach out to you or to be their funny, goofy selves as usual or anything like that. And it doesn't necessarily mean you need to back off. If anything, be there more for them. And of course, if they're the type of person where they have to process things by themselves, then cool, you know that about them, but always extend that extra hand. So don't be afraid to be someone's extra when they don't have enough of it.
I love that. Honestly, y'all, all this relates to self-love, because self-love is understanding how strong you are, how strong you can be, understanding how strong the people are around you, and not using it as a term just to compare to perfectionism, you know. So that's just one thing, you know. Self-love is being strong for yourself when you can't be strong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and
sounds funny as that sounds.
I know. And for us, self-love is more human, right? It's about being more human. So in this whole episode, that's what really we're trying to say, that even if you carry the strength well, the trauma well, whatever you've been through well, it's okay to also carry the hurt, you know, carry the pain, let it go also at some point. But it's okay for you to admit that you have those moments. And part of practicing self-love is loving yourself more as a human being, that we all are in this three-dimensional world right now. You know, as crazy as things are, of course, it's easy to break down. It's easy to feel hopeless. But the more you learn to accept different things about yourself, and even your quote-unquote flaws and, you know, not your best parts, then you are practicing that self-love, because you're giving yourself that grace. It's like any other relationship, right? You would learn to forgive somebody else. Why wouldn't you learn to forgive yourself too?
And like Jim was saying earlier, carry all that, and also know strong people get back up. You know, that's really what it's about. Like, we compare it to the boxer, and also strong people, they may need you more than you know. You know, so let's knock that notion, that thing that's out there, oh, she's strong, let's get rid of that, and let's treat everyone as human. Yes, there are some brilliant people out there that have been through some things that I admire for that, but they are still human too, and they need love as well. Exactly.
I like this Bruce Lee quote about water. Like, I'm sure y'all have heard this out there. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but what I really like is that he's talking about how if you put water into a cup, it becomes a cup. If you put water into a bottle, it becomes a bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes a teapot. Now, water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend. I think the biggest part that stuck to me about that quote is water can flow or it can crash, because it's showing water can be strong and water can be weak. Yes, water can multiply itself, right? Because one drop of water isn't going to make as much of a difference as 1,000 drops of water. But at the same time, it's still strength in that water, no matter what form it's in, no matter where you put it or anything like that. And it can choose to go with the flow, or it can choose to go against it and crash against everything. So it's pretty much the same thing with your own life, right? That you can choose to crash against all obstacles that are coming your way, or you could choose to flow with them. It's not a matter of if it rains, it's a matter of when it rains. So be like the rain, or be like the water, like Bruce Lee said.
Yeah, and also carry those scars with pride. You know, that's one thing about strength, is not being ashamed of which I feel like that makes people strong. Like, dang, you went through that, but you still here. I think strength too is not letting that challenge define you. Because let's be real, how many people we saw, they went through something and it took them, just they carried the anger with them of like whatever it was. I think too, strength is being able to flip that, flip your perspective, carry it well, inspire others, use that strength to help people grow, use that strength to speak life into people, so people don't end up having to go through that same challenge.
It's important for you to understand your own strength, but also knowing your own limits with your strength, because not everybody can handle everything, or actually you shouldn't have to handle everything. I know that in labeling ourselves as strong people, we think that, oh, but I should be able to handle this, I've done it before, or whatever, it's nothing to me, different things like that. And just because we can handle something doesn't mean we should. And we should be able to place a limit on what we do and do not want to be able to handle.
Yes, most definitely. So, in the day, carry it well and be strong. We appreciate y'all tapping into our 67th episode. But before we go, we have a couple announcements.
We just want to remind y'all to check us out on the Good News Radio every Thursday, live and unfiltered at 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can download the app by going to the link in our bio. And you can check out all the other cool shows on there too. There's different channels, so for whatever your taste is, there's a Latinx channel, sports channel, and there's more to come. But then obviously feel free to check us out, because the more support you give us, the better for us as well. So we are live and unfiltered every Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, only on the Good News Radio.
Yes, and shout out to our amazing sponsor, My Bar. Make sure y'all tap in, located in Inglewood, California. I mentioned the Instagram wrong. The Instagram is at myy.bar. That's with one R. Located in Inglewood, California, across you from the farm. Get your nails done, your brows, your lashes, your hair done. Ask for mine. Tell them SpeakUpJV sent you.
That's right, y'all. You want to look fabulous? Definitely go check that out. And then also, ladies, if you want to get your curves looking right, feeling right in jumpsuits, bodysuits, t-shirts, all kinds of beautiful clothing, then make sure you check out our other wonderful sponsor, House of Mera by Time Mera. Go check out the Instagram at House of Mera. That's HOUSEOFMERA.
Yes. So, and also check us out on Instagram at SpeakUpJV. Check us out on Twitter at SpeakUpJV. Feel free to tweet us and talk to us. Also, you can check us on Podbean, Spotify, apparently iHeartRadio, Apple. Tell your friends to tune in to SpeakUpJV, and we love y'all.
Love y'all.
Bye.